And go. What's up, guys? We are back with episode 3 of The Freak Show. We're your hosts. I am Dennis. He is Ty with the big truck and the small bench. And I think Ty has a message for those of you who went mogging him in the comment section of the last video. We appreciate all the comments, by the way. But what would you have to say about that, Ty?
Yeah, I mean, it was... Everybody in the comments wanted to talk about how, I've got a 700-pound bench and I drive a Fiat 500. Listen, you have to start putting your body weight in as a caveat, because if you are 300 pounds and you bench 300 pounds, that's not an impressive bench. That's a fucking push-up.
Okay, so. Hold that thought. We are going to circle back to that and get to that. But let's say, for instance, Ty, you wanted to make your bench a bigger number, and you had a gun to your head, and you have to hit a big bench press now. Top 3 PR songs. We're gonna, I have to hit this lift, have to get amped up. My life depends on it. Depends on mogging you guys in the comment section. Let's start with number 3, and we want to hear you guys' favorite PR songs as well, so put those in the comments. But give me your third best PR song.
Number 3, a classic, one that everyone's probably tired of hearing if they go to any sort of hardcore gym. It's on all the time, but it's a staple. I'm Broken, Pantera.
I maybe would know it if I heard it. I don't recognize that at all. I think the only Pantera I know is Cowboys from Hell, because it was on one of the Guitar Heroes. My number 3 is the B.I.B.I. remix, Lil Jon East Side Boys, specifically the one with Ludacris, China White, and Too Short. Big bass, southern hardcore lyrics. That's kind of my staple. So give me number 2, Ty.
I have a feeling this list is going to be like, this is what I like. I've never heard that song. This is what I like. I've never heard that song.
I can see his list, and that's where we're going.
Number 2, Son of the Morning by Oh Sleeper. It's kind of a low-key, it's a smaller band, but really, a lot of these, they start really, hot. That was something that I was trying to think about, where just, as soon as you hit it, you don't have to sit there and wait on an instrumental at the beginning to actually lift. You can just hit your phone, and you can go and do your lift.
I hate when somebody's in the gym I'm trying to skip to this part.
Yeah, exactly.
Skip back, no, there's one part. And then run to the rack real quick. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Number 2 for me is What's My Name, DMX. And this one's visual for me too. I was a music video person growing up. I grew up in the MTV era. I love music videos, and sorry, animal rights activist, but in that video, he's got the pit bulls squaring off against each other. And, DMX was aggressive with his lyrics anyway, in that, New York style of his with a raspy voice. So that always brings up the inner feels for me, to get pumped for a big lift. So, what's your number 1?
Number 1, Devastator by For Today. Again, another one that hits really hard real quick. It's really funny because it sounds like devil music, but the guy who is the singer is now a preacher in Johnson City. He was this world-renowned metal...
Johnson City being local to us, by the way.
Yeah, Tennessee, sorry. I live in the song Wagon Wheel. you maybe hoping someone will get that reference. But yeah, For Today. You're from here.
I grew up in Florida. I was born up here, but we moved away when I was 1.
Fair. But yeah, Devastator hits really hard. Kind of gets everything going, and For Today rocks.
So you guys are probably, I don't think anybody is going to have any shadow of a doubt what my number 1 is going to be, and it is going to be motherfucking Knuck If You Buck. I don't think there's any explanation needed. I'm sure you know what Knuck If You Buck.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, everybody knows Knuck If You Buck. That was always going to be, fuck. You talk about hype. I bought that CD 3 times when I was a younger man, because I would just wear it out playing it. Low key, that first Crime Mob CD, There is one track on there that you skip. The rest you can play it front to back. Great album in general, but that song, I mean, holy shit. Mind blowing. Again, give us you guys PR songs. We want to hear what you guys are listening to. Maybe we'll make a public playlist out of it. So put your PR songs in there. And just really quickly, we're both, well, I'm older, but we're both mature in the gym at this point. How much do you really rely on the music to get you pumped up these days, Ty?
I really don't. I mean, it's nice to have something playing. But we were talking about it before, like, I couldn't tell you, like, when we were doing this list, I had to, like, look through my playlist to be like, oh, what are my PR songs? Because I don't really have them. You just...
Right.
Especially with, with Conjugate, like, we're hitting PRs every week, at least that's the plan anyway. So, like, if I was so concerned in every PR, like, every week was this, like, mind-shifting event, like, you just weigh yourself out. Like, you just get numb to hitting numbers. So, like, I can do PRs with no music. It doesn't really matter.
I'm the same way. Sometimes if I do have the stereo or something, I've got a big top set. Maybe I want to hear something specific. But again, it's not anything that I rely on. I've competed for over a decade now. You don't get to pick your music at the meets.
We don't even get music half the time. We're just out in the field picking up rocks.
Yeah. And then, a lot of times if you go to a powerlifting meet, it's like 5-finger fruit punch or whatever on repeat. So that's not really my jam anyway. So, I don't rely on it either. I've heard one argument, and it was from Eric Guggenhagen, talking about using music for like every top set ever to get hype, because there is some studies showing some correlation that certain percentage stimulation, and it doesn't have to be music, I guess, but that tends to be the universal stimulant,
right? Or salts or something.
But if you take that extra 2 to 3% every time, over time it compounds, and hypothetically would lead to more gains long term. In my opinion, I think probably leads to CNS burnout a little bit quicker, like relying on being overstimulated all the time. Clearly it works for him. But that's not something I would do, nor something that I advise people to do.
Yeah, no, and I think it's something you have to like learn how to, especially if you are a competitor, if you're a powerlifter or a strongman, because it's a long day. You need to learn how to, like, once you hit the chalk bowl, turn it on.
Yeah.
And be able to turn it on and off. And if you can't get too high, because then you'll burn out and you'll be smoked for the next attempt or the next event. So learning how to do that, I think that learning how to execute hit PRs, almost think like, do my job, not I need to get myself, to the red line or like to 103% to hit this number. Like, hit the number that you're supposed to hit, do it, make it smooth, all of that stuff. Like, if you're having to headbutt the bar to hit this number, like...
Oh, man.
And that's...
And the worst of the meet is when you see somebody get the big back slaps, the big headbutts or whatever, and then they just get stapled, or the bar doesn't come off the floor. Honestly, it's like all that for nothing.
Honestly, when I see something like that, if I have to see like a back slap or you're like headbanging the bar, to me that says I'm not confident. I'm not sure I can do this. Like, I need to like bring this other I'm here for bringing the dog out. But
of course.
But when it's that showy, it's like, I don't think you think you can do this.
And a lot of times you nailed it. It's showy.
Yeah, it is.
It's part of the show. That said, I think we'll move on a little bit. How'd training go today? Or this week, generally?
Well, today, I am violently hungover. But we still made it to the gym on 3 hours of sleep, because that's what we do. We're adults around here. And I'm still young enough that I can bounce right back, and even though I'm sleepy, still hit all the numbers today, so we're progressing. I've got about 4 weeks left in this hypertrophy block until we hit a strength phase. With this off season, we're just doing back and forth. So we'll do like 3 months of hypertrophy, 2 months of strength, put the muscle on, get it stronger. So we're about to do that first back and forth. I'm ready for it because I'm just tired of hypertrophy work.
It's so boring.
It is. I'm not a fan. I just want
salute to you guys who enjoy that aspect of it. I know a lot of my subscribers do. A lot of people that are associated with me on YouTube train for hypertrophy. Hats off to you guys. That shit's fucking boring.
That's not why we got in the gym. That's not what wakes us up in the morning.
To each their own.
Bone crushing weight is what gets us up in the morning. So, we're doing it. We do it because we're supposed to, and it works.
Right.
It is effective. If you want to have success, you don't do what you like, you do what you're supposed to.
Right,
so
right.
That's where we're at.
Any shows looming for you?
My next show, well, you never know.
Right.
there's always times to jump in. I probably won't compete until next June.
Okay.
So barring
off season.
Yeah, barring jumping into anything, the way that the Strongman system it's changed now to where you don't have to qualify for regionals, you can just sign up.
Okay.
So like this year, my plan, I did a show in April to qualify for regionals, which is always in June, the Mid-South Regional in Kentucky. And I ended up not doing it because there was a log press 220 for reps, and my log press max is 223. So I could maybe get one.
Right.
And that may sound like I'm running away from competition. At the end of the day, this is a sport where you pay to play.
Yep.
So it seemed kind of dumb to go and pay $120 to know that I'm not even gonna be in the realm. I've been to bigger shows at this point. It's not
right.
It's not exciting, or it's exciting, but you know what I mean. It's not something like I'm checking boxes anymore.
Right.
Where I need to go get the experience.
Yeah.
So, so I decided to take this long off season. It worked really well last year, so really hoping to get some numbers up. Already having, a little bit where my axle is up to 255. If I can get that up to 275 and then get the log maybe in that 255 range, I think I'm going to have some success at that level. So that's kind of the plan. I mean, all the other numbers and all the other events are right where they need to be. So it's just getting that overhead press where it needs to go.
Good.
How about you? What's the training look like?
My training has been kind of ho-hum, same as usual. I'm not really training for anything in particular right now. I did get my first submission on the mats rolling, so
what did you hit with?
A head and arm triangle. It was not technically proficient. I am sure he tapped to the pain and not because I was choking him. I was just squeezing really hard.
There you go.
But yeah, I finally got one in there. But that's all for me. You guys will see my training on Instagram. I already posted this morning. I posted a reel. I generally, any top sets I hit gets posted on Instagram. Follow me there. Back to the bench press. If you're 300 pounds, your 300-pound bench press is just a push-up. So let's talk relative versus absolute strength. This is something I've been strongly opinionated on in the past, but we have to frame it. So we're going to speak a little bit differently. We're going to speak in terms of sport versus kind of a gym pop or just, gym goers, enthusiasts, etc. So we'll start with sport. I don't give a fuck about how much you weigh. Weight classes are there. I do not like formulas. I despise them. I think the biggest total should win best overall, or there shouldn't be a best overall. In any sport, the further you get away from objective measures, the more convoluted it gets and the more muddy the waters. The objective in powerlifting is the total. The bigger it is, that should be the be-all, end-all in my opinion. In basketball, whoever scores the most points wins. There's not, this team was average 6'5" versus this team was average 6'7". So if we adjust the score based on average height, track and field, you sprint, whoever crosses the line first wins. It doesn't matter height, weight, whatever. So that's where I'm at in terms of sport. I will always, people even ask, now that you lost weight, do you still think the same? Yes, I made a video a long time ago saying weight classes are participation trophies. I still very much believe in that. That's not to say that some of the relative stuff isn't impressive, but you can't measure impressive. That it's not an objective measure. And I think within sport, it should be objective. And once you get away from objective, again, it starts getting convoluted. Floor is yours. Do you have any thoughts there?
No, I actually agree with you. And that's coming from somebody who's in the weight classes, who's in the lightweight, you know, and it's always the lightweights never get any love in any sport. I mean, it's just,
of course,
it's just more impressive to watch.
Right.
The big numbers. That's why in Strongman, it's the opens. That's why in powerlifting, you want to see the big dogs at the end. You want to see the big sweaties lift the big weights.
Right.
And yeah, I actually don't. I get that a lot. Like that's really strong for your size.
Right.
I hate that.
That hurts.
Yeah.
That hurts.
I was like, stop. Like,
just tell me I'm strong, damn it.
Yeah. Like it was either impressive.
Don't give me the qualifier.
Right. It was either impressive or it wasn't. And I also like, kind of the stuff we talk about when we talked about comparison last week. Like, I don't compare myself just with the lightweights.
Right.
I want to go catch anybody at the gym.
Right.
So I don't think like, well, he's 150 pounds more than me. Like, I mean, you can think that way.
Right.
It's not, I'm not like upset that, Dan Bell is stronger than me. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know it was more of a joke.
Of course.
Just because it was so many, it was just getting torn up in the comments.
But it leads to good conversation.
But yeah, I mean, I think that overall, the big numbers are funner to watch. And I think that as a competitor, the big guys should get all the praise. They should get all the money. They should get all the attention. I'm not here for complainers. It's big in Strongman where people in the weight classes bitch and moan about how the 105s aren't making any money, the 80 kgs aren't making any money. If you draw people, you will make money.
Right.
And the people that draw are the big boys.
So, and see, that's where in powerlifting, there's a little bit of a difference right now. Strongman is a spectator sport at the highest level. Mm-hmm. You get casual fans.
It's a TV show.
On TV, yeah.
World's Strongest Man is a TV show.
So
it's not a competition.
Powerlifting, the vast majority of anybody that's spectating is another powerlifter. Mm-hmm. It's very much participation based rather than spectator based. And I think that's why it's kind of gravitated towards formulas and the big money meets pay out based on formula. The bigger population of powerlifters is in those weight classes.
Right.
And that's who represents them. So naturally you're going to, this is what I like, this is my preference, this is who I am. So that's where the money is going to feasibly go to. And most of the more popular powerlifters, on social media also are in those weight classes. A lot of the super heavy, they're just like, oh, I don't give a fuck, and then just go out there and lift heavy fucking weights.
Right.
Whereas you'll see the middleweight, the formula guys, they're making memes, making content for content's sake, as well as they're lifting, which there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Like that's the age we live in. I'm not going to be one of those.
You
shouldn't use social media. Powerlifters, have personality. Put your personality out there. You're a brand these days. That you can make money off being a brand. Fucking go for it. If that allows you to get more time in the gym and less time having to work a day job or whatever the case may be, I'm here for it. But I think that's why, if I were to poll this to powerlifters, I think most powerlifters would say the formula is more impressive or, the way to go. Because that's where the majority of them lie, and that's where the money is in powerlifting at this point. Because it's a participation-based viewership versus Strongman being more casual, spectator-friendly, and getting, normal people watching Strongman and knowing who they are.
Yeah, I also feel like, outside looking in, a lot of the young, tested powerlifters are kind of nerds.
Yeah, they are.
You know what I mean? So they're numbers people. And it's like very much like, we're doing SBD days and my RP has to be like to the perfection, And so, like, all of these things, like, I have to have the perfect knee sleeve and the perfect barbell that's a 20 millimeter, or, not 20 millimeter, but 20 kg, 29 millimeter.
Right.
Like, it's gotta be, gotta be calibrated plates. It has to be perfect. It's all numbers, intricacies. So I could see those people very much being into formulas because it makes them feel smart. To be like, oh, actually,
there's definitely some elitism.
Yeah,
with
100%,
for
especially
sure.
like IPF people.
Yeah, that's always been the case.
Yeah, but yeah, something you went on, and this was actually something I wrote down in the our comment section, not our comment section, whatever. Sorry, I'm hungover. Do you think, like, has powerlifting gotten lighter? Like, I feel like it used to be like, eat as much as you can, get as big as you can, to get as strong as you can. And now, with the popularity of some of those social media influencers that are powerlifters, like Russ Swoll, like John Hack, guys that, like, I feel like Russ Swoll was the invention of power building, because he was just so happened, he's strong, but he just so happened to, like, look like a bodybuilder, and everyone was like, that's what I want to be.
Right.
I want to be him. And then everybody became like, oh, power builder. So, like, you've been around long enough, not to call your age into question, that you've been through multiple eras of powerlifting. Have you seen that shift, and what does that look like to you compared to, like, when you started and where we're at now?
So as a whole, when I started, multiply was still, it wasn't the thing anymore, but Raw wasn't quite fully where it is now.
And what year is this?
But it was transitioning. I did my first competition in 2013.
Okay.
So I think now the evolution of the sport is sport is now powerlifters. You can say powerlifting no sport, they're not athletes, but they're training more like athletes now. They're treating themselves more like athletes, and they found, the more lean muscle you can have within a weight class, the better. So you're seeing, especially in those middleweight classes, less sort of the traditional kind of slightly chubbier builds, and you're seeing a lot more leaner people because, more muscle mass. People are taking their cardio more seriously. Something I was advocating for years ago, even when I was a fatty, doing your cardio. I'm glad that they call onto that. But I think that's where it's at. And of course, just generally speaking, people within the totality of the fitness sphere, young men especially, want to look better. They want to look like they lift. Mm-hmm. So I think there's been some more emphasis on that. That said, even if you train exclusively powerlifting with powerlifting goals in mind, eating big and getting big, you're going to look like you lift. There's different body fat percentages as to how much you're going to show or whatever. But I certainly think social media definitely made a big impact on that, because people want to present that image, right, of being lean and fit and muscular, and it's probably mostly vanity reasons, but that's there. And again, the sport now being more sport oriented, treating themselves like athletes, a lot like MMA. If you watch any of the early UFCs back in the day,
Tank Abbott.
Yeah, dude. Back then it was dudes fighting and it was martial artists. Mm-hmm. Now they're athletes competing in a sport, and I think it's been similar, not directly, of course, but a very similar evolution within raw powerlifting, where they've gone from just dudes lifting heavy ass weights to people treating themselves like athletes and competing in the sport, treating it like a sport. So that said, the sport part aside, just generally speaking, Gen Pop, being healthy, being fit, longevity, things of those nature, I think that's where the relative strength is more of a thing. That's where, the 200-pound guy benching 300 pounds is far better off than the 350-pound guy benching 400 pounds. Yeah. And it's not even close. You insert lift here, squat, deadlift, whatever. They're going to be getting themselves around much easier. And as they age, that absolute strength is going to diminish some, and where that is relatively to you, whatever that diminishment is, and hopefully we're working on maintaining it anyway, you're going to be better off with the ratio versus the absolute number.
For sure. And it helps people a lot to, like, when they're new, kind of figure out where they're at. Like, because everyone wants to know, like, am I good? Like, am I strong? Like, I don't know. So, like, you can give really easy benchmarks of, 1.5 body weight, 2 body weight. They're really good benchmarks. That
inevitably, some 300-pound guy's going to be like, what body weight on the scale and nearly?
Yeah, because you're a big fatty.
That's what I used to do.
So, yeah, it's good for people to, have a goal to reach, especially if they are on the lighter side. Because when you start, it can be disheartening when you go somewhere and it's just a bunch of monsters and you're like, I'm 400 pounds away from being good.
Right.
So, so like having those sort of goals, that was something that was really, beneficial for me when I started at Emory and Henry. I played college baseball at this little tiny school around here called Emory and Henry College. That's what we kept as our board. Like the board was.
My cousin murdered a chick there. That's how I know Emory and Henry College. Yeah.
Okay.
Dropping some lore there.
Jeez. Anyway.
I'll tell you after we get off.
For real. But no, they kept like our back squat. Like, they kept absolute numbers, and then they kept like our body weight based on body weight. So I had when I graduated, I had the back squat body weight ratio all time squat record at I think it was like.
Fucking dork.
2.54.
I had the all-time ratio record.
It doesn't matter, but yes, it was like 2.54.
What was your squat number? I bet it's less than a bench.
No, it was 455 at 182.
Yeah, I benched 457 my last meet. So.
Fuck. Okay. Anyway.
And that's my skinny bench. And we ain't even talking about my fat bench.
Whatever, dude.
My body weight ratio squat was number 1. The only thing I don't like about the ratio people, and this is for general, is when they make up these wild scenarios like, okay, well, you can squat 500 pounds, but you weigh 350 pounds. But what if you had to run from a bear and climb up a fence and, do that? Like some wild scenario that I've never encountered in my life and probably never will. That other than like, if we're not speaking about the sport nerds, those people fucking piss me off. Like, shut the fuck up, dude.
Yeah.
That's the same as, when somebody sees you bench press, oh, but can you fight? Dude, I haven't been in a fight since I was in high school. Who cares?
And the people that are saying, but can you fight, probably can't fight.
They also can't, and they're not strong.
And they can't bench. Yeah, they can't do anything. Bro, I'll just see red. You don't want to mess with me, bro. Yeah.
But speaking of absolute strength, strongest man on earth.
Some controversy.
There's some controversy there. We'll talk about that too. Are the events too heavy, and is there too many of them?
Well, that's a good question.
It looks like an absolute meat grinder. The big one that I see everybody bitching about is the trap bar max deadlift.
Yeah, so the trap bar deadlift, for anybody who doesn't know, they're doing a 1 rep max trap bar.
And straps are allowed, right?
Straps are allowed.
Yeah,
so, looking at that, you would think, hey, trap bar safer than regular deadlift. Yes, in theory, but it's almost like throwing a bench. I mean, it's almost like putting squat suits on these guys because it is safer, therefore they can do more.
Right.
I mean, there's a chance that...
And we're going to talk about, like, unfathomable numbers.
There's a chance 1,600 pounds is going to be pulled.
You really think so?
I really do. Like, some of the numbers that people are pulling... Like,
I haven't been paying attention. In my head, I had, like, 1,300.
No, people are pulling ungodly numbers right now.
Oh, wow.
It's insane. People are going to pull their traps off their body. Like, getting set up for this. Like, it's not... It's gonna be interesting. Like, look.
Is it a high handle?
I think
or is it gonna be elevated or like some set?
I think it's from the floor, but it's a high handle.
Okay.
So it's gonna be nuts. I mean, and some of these guys, like, now there is a chance that, like, because nobody trains the trap bar deadlift, it's getting more popular in the weight classes for some reason. like a lot of like OSG, it'll be like 3 trap bar deadlifts or like a frame deadlift and then run with it. It's not been a thing at the opens, so there could be a chance that people just aren't prepared for it. But I know that Lucas Haddon said that he thinks that somebody's going to pull 1,600, which is crazy. And he's the one to do it, man. He's got freaking so strong legs. He did 660 for 20.
Yeah, I saw that. That's
I mean, and that was just like the number for the day. It wasn't even like he like peaked for it.
Right.
Because they were trying to get ready for, they thought that the Wheel of Pain was going to be at the Arnold, so he was trying to get lactic acid threshold in his quads.
So 660 for 20.
Yeah, insane. But yeah, it's going to be, and the thing is, thankfully, they got rid of the tire flip. Because that was going to be
somebody's biceps.
It was going to be everyone's bicep.
Yeah.
Because this, I mean, the whole show is biceps. I mean, that's why, now it doesn't matter anymore because he already tore his bicep, but Luke Richardson said he wasn't going to do it. Mateusz said he wasn't going to do it. Thor just came out and said he's not doing it. So he was like
that's like the biggest of the big names.
Thor was kind of confirmed, and then he just pulled out because of the chest press. Because they're doing like a standing, like the Dynabody.
Right.
They're doing a standing chest press, and last time they did it, 2 or 3 people like got like little tears in their pecs. So Thor's out on that. Yeah, I think that.
And it's funny, like generally for 99% of us, a lot of these implements are safer and easier to use. But for them being fixed in that position, in that advantageous position that's safer, allows them to move just so much preposterous weights.
Right.
That it becomes more dangerous than doing a bench press.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like they were just like on a bench and they were, do it powerlifting standard, three judges, it would probably be significantly safer just because they can't do as much weight. They're also like a lot of these events are things that the open guys aren't doing a lot. Like we talked about that with the trap bar. Open strongmen also don't bench.
Right.
So like tendon strength is a thing.
Yeah.
And we're not these guys aren't conditioned in those specific places right now.
But they're still strong as fuck.
But they're so strong. Yeah, so they're too strong for their tendons.
Right.
So there's a good chance. I mean, I don't know if there's a good chance. I could definitely see some injuries. I think this year is kind of like the pivotal point with Smo. I think it's right on the line of like too much.
Right.
And obviously we're gonna see when they go out and compete what happens.
Right.
But you've already seen a couple people say I'm not doing it because it's too scary. I think that if Brian tries to up it again, because every year it's gotten more and more scary.
Right.
And if he does it again, I think you'll have more and more people be like, nah, man, like, I'm good.
See, my thoughts were, because he wants it to be the heavy show.
For sure.
My thoughts were, well, if you want to be the heavy show, make it less events.
Well, that's the thing. It's another, because a lot of those, like, old school guys, like Brian, think that 5 events isn't enough. It's not enough to get a real understanding of who is the strongest man on the earth. And he wants to compete with World's Strongest Man. Don't get it twisted. He doesn't want to be another show. He wants to bury World's Strongest Man and say, the person who wins my show
that's why he named it what he
is the strongest man on earth. So, like, he wants it. And, obviously World's Strongest Man has its issues with the group stage and the final stage. They fixed that a little bit this year with the events in the groups going over into the finals. But before then, Brian was the show. The strongest man on earth was the show. It was the standard of, like, we're going to do a lot of events. And now everybody else is starting to follow suit with, like, Rogue. I think Rogue had 6 or 7. The Arnold went from 5 to 6. Like, everyone's starting to increase the amount of events because they want it to be a more well-rounded show. So that if you have a grip event in there, it's not like completely
That's gonna make or
destroying
break,
the
yeah.
points where somebody like Trey Mitchell, who is strong as an ox, but has like nerve damage, so he has a terrible grip. And then every time they have a grip event at the Arnold, he goes from gonna get second to gonna get fifth.
Right.
So they're trying to make the sport as a whole seems to be going that way, where more events. There's just
I get
if you're
it.
gonna go
There's
more
gotta be
events,
some
more
balance.
events,
Yeah.
don't make them all 1 rep maxes,
Right.
which is what
Yeah.
Brian has done.
And I know why he wants to, because he does want an absolute strength, and what better way to test strength than a 1 rep max? But just looking at it,
They're also these guys.
I know how I feel after a powerlifting meet.
Yeah.
And it's 9 attempts at 90% or better. And a lot of that feeling, it's the adrenaline, the crowd, and all that stuff plays a part too. Because I could go do 9 attempts at similar percentages in the gym one day, and I won't feel near as beat up the next day as doing it at a meet. But they are doing it, in front of large crowds and with hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line.
Well, yeah.
So their nerves are up, and they're doing these big 1 rep maxes repeatedly, and it's like
it's not even just 3 attempts; it's rising bars.
Right.
So it's just jump in and you keep going.
It's
you want to hope that you make it, around 3 attempts.
just
but
looking at it's daunting.
Yeah, it's gonna be a show. I think that it's gonna be. I think you're gonna find the strongest man on earth, especially with the lineup that's going.
So speaking of the lineup,
that's where the controversy is.
And I'm gonna let you take the floor here because I'm not really up on this. Ty is our resident strongman expert. So what's the deal? I've heard some grumblings about who got invited and who got snubbed.
Yeah. So a couple days ago, Brian went on his channel and did the final athlete list video to announce everybody. The athletes in the first group, there were already people that were already confirmed. Those were Austin Andrade, Maxime Boudreau, Lucas Hatton, Mitchell Hooper, Trey Mitchell, Tom Stolten, and Josh Spurgeon. So they do the same thing that the Arnold does, that if you win the amateur open class, you get to go.
You get an automatic invite.
Automatic invite to the big dogs. Yeah. So Josh Spurgeon, we don't know anything about him. Obviously, that first group, no.
But he earned his way in there.
For sure,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah. We don't know him isn't to disparage him.
No, he deserves it, 100%. We just don't know anything about him.
Right.
First list makes sense.
The 0.0001% chance he sees this.
Yeah. Sorry, Josh. So after World's Strongest Man, a couple days ago, we get the second group of invitees, and that's where the controversy kind of started. So. Second group, Rain O'Neill, that's World's Strongest Man. Yeah. He's going to be there. Evan Singleton, Bobby Thompson, Wes Dorinsky, Thomas Evans, Andre Foytu, Eddie Williams, Shane Flowers, and Bryce Johnson. So, with that, couple of people missing off the list. The first one that everyone lost their mind about was Patty Haynes. Dennis, do you know who Patty Haynes is?
I do not.
Okay, Patty Haynes is a strongman competitor out of England. He's really young. I think he's like my age. He's like 26, 27. Really big on YouTube and really playing the game. Really funny, really interacts with the audience, does a lot of like meme-ish stuff.
Right.
Really popular on the Reddit because I think he's still like kind of... He hasn't gotten to the point where he's in the open where he's like athlete. He's still like in the community.
Oh, okay.
So he's still like talking that shit and
that's
stuff.
Cool.
He's got a hot girlfriend, so I think people actually like him for that. Yeah, he's got like a Gymshark athlete girlfriend.
Okay.
So like I think that helps. All of that stuff to say, and he's really strong. Like he legitimately got 4th at Britain's Strongest Man. He got 2nd at Europe's Strongest Man. That's how he got his World's Strongest Man invite. And then in his first World's Strongest Man ever, he got 5th at World's Strongest Man.
And that's huge.
That's huge.
Like top 5 at World's Strongest Man.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's your first competition or your 10th competition.
Yeah, I mean, he really made a lot of noise with his World's Strongest Man performance. So he's kind of like the strongman darling right now. And he didn't get invited. And so people lost their mind. Also with that, Patty went out on his Instagram story and then onto his YouTube channel and expressed his frustrations.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he actually said that he was upset. He didn't like, man, Brian.
Right.
It was more like, talking about mental health and talking about kind of like just the like World's Strongest Man, like coming off of the event blues and stuff like that. So people really appreciate that about what he said. But I mean, if you look at it, it's kind of, he has a point. Patty got 5th at World's Strongest Man. If we're looking at that second group of competitors and go through that lineup, I mean, Evan Singleton got hurt on the first event, blew his bicep off.
Right.
Had to drop out. So why is Evan Singleton going to the strongest competition all year long with a hurt bicep? Like, if you say, well, Patty's not strong enough, this dude's working with one wing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bobby Thompson wasn't even invited to World's Strongest Man. He couldn't even make it to the show because he's had such bad performances, and he got invited over Patty Haynes. Wes Derwinski didn't even get out of the groups. He got 4th in his group. Thomas Evans didn't get out of the groups. Got 4th in his groups. Andre Fortu had a great World's Strongest Man. Another, rookie, but placed 6th. Patty placed 5th.
Right.
Eddie Williams placed 10th. Patty placed 5th. Shane Flowers, 7th. Patty placed 5th. Bryce Johnson, 3rd in his group, 2nd at OSG. Like, he hasn't really made any noise at an international show. His first international show really was this World's Strongest Man, and he didn't get out of the group. So it's like a lot of people are looking at this and going, if we're going off of competition history, Patty has a 2nd at Europe's,
right.
which it's still a Giants live show, right. But it has the prestige, especially if you are, from Britain. It's right now,
right.
It's kind of like USA Brian stands are like, he's not strong, because like a lot of like USA fans are very much like 2 feet in the ground, like 1 rep maxes, because they grew up being Brian fans, and that's what he likes. And then
and that's what this show is,
right? And so
but still,
a lot of fans from Britain are much more into the Giants live,
right?
You gotta be an athlete, bruv. So it's very much like split like that. Like,
so do we have any tinfoil hat conspiracies yet? Because when me and you initially talked off camera before this, I was thinking, well, maybe it's a follower thing, maybe it's a subscriber thing, and it's a show and you want to get the most eyeballs. But after chatting with you now and Patty having the big following and a Gymshark girlfriend and the online presence, it's not that.
No.
Because he would bring that audience. His performance has merited him to get the invite potentially. Do you have any, like I said, tinfoil hat theories there as to why these other people got invited over him, even though their performances weren't quite?
I've got my what is probably the answer, and then I've got my tinfoil hat.
Let's hear the tinfoil first.
Okay,
I want the good shit.
I think that Strongest Man on Earth and Brian in general tends to be a little bit of like, I'm gonna invite my friends, kind of an old boys club situation. Like, there's a lot of like, this guy looks like Brian.
Okay.
This guy competes like Brian. This guy, big fat barrel chested, can't move. Strongman's about moving weight, okay? This isn't CrossFit,
right?
Type of guys.
Okay.
And a lot of these guys that people are upset about, like Evan Williams, like Bobby Thompson, these are Brian's friends.
Gotcha.
These are Americans. This year a little less. He's been a little more diverse. It has been the big barreled Americans show before.
Gotcha.
And that's a situation. Another thing, Brian is in direct competition with World's Strongest Man, and has kind of like come out and been like, they don't pick the end of World's Strongest Man is not the 10 strongest man in the world. Like, he's very adamant that like the way that they do it is not how you find the actual strongest person.
So it would make sense.
It would make sense
he
for him to
doesn't
say
really
that
necessarily care about their placings.
your placings are not valid
Gotcha.
because you don't find the way that you find these people is flawed.
Got it.
That's kind of like, some of the like conspiracy. I mean, it's not even really a conspiracy, but like kind of the like more harebrained ideas of kind of where this is at. The actual reason that I think is probably more likely is that Brian says, I am trying to find the strongest man on earth. I'm going to pick the 16 people that I think have the most or the best possibility of like making it through this show and having success at this show. Because if we really look at Patty Haynes' strengths, he's a big puller. He's got a really big deadlift, especially for reps. But Patty is much more fit. He's great at moving events. He's great at grip events. He's great at things for reps. He's a good stone lifter, but like 2 feet in the ground.
Lacks the horsepower for
super tall. Yeah, like super high end strength, especially with the overhead press. It's not there. I mean, in the finals, it was a max log, which they're doing here. The original starting weight was 200 kilos. Patty asked for it to be dropped down to 180, and he missed 180.
Oh.
So visually, as a promoter, you could say, I don't want somebody who's going to zero half of these events showing up.
Right.
And I think that's kind of where Brian is like, I'm trying to find the strongest people on earth. I don't care about your past performances. He also came out and said a little bit more in the video that they put out how he decides who gets to go, which we haven't known before. So a little bit more insight. So I think that like there's automatic invites now over just doing the Shaw Classic.
Gotcha.
That I think going into next year, I think will make everything a little easier and people will be less bad. The top 3 at the Arnold, the top 3 at Rogue, and the top 3 at World's Strongest Man.
All of those are going to get automatic.
They get automatic invites, and then the top 5 from last year of his show.
Gotcha.
Get automatic invites.
Well, that'll make it a lot less convoluted. I guess.
For sure.
I'm sure there's always going to be a little bit of controversy.
Yeah, because again, like a lot of if you look at this second.
At least there you can say, hey, if you competed at these places and you didn't make those top 3s, and I don't invite you, hey, you had your chance to make that a non-issue. Like Dana White says in UFC, don't leave it up to the judges.
The
judges.
Yeah. Now, if you look at this second group, this is a lot of invites. So like you can still like make a case.
Of course. Yeah.
That when these guys aren't even getting out of the groups.
Right.
It's kind of tough, but it's like all of these guys are like 6'5" and 400 pounds. They're what Brian likes. And they're what Brian likes about Strongman. They're the mid-2010s, mid-2000s type of Strongman build that Brian seems to want to hold on to and wants to get back to. He just wants bone-crushing weight.
Right.
I mean, they're going to do the bale tote again, which I don't know if you remember the bale tote at the Arnold. It was a 1,500-pound It ended careers.
Right.
It didn't just hurt people. It ended careers. But Brian could do it. So Brian's going to put it in his show. There's a lot of like, Brian, he's come out and said, like, my show is basically everything I wanted to do in my career that I never got to do.
Fair enough.
It's your show. You can do what you want. But we're not all you. We're not all 6'8" and 440. And 2, now, Brian, you don't have to do it anymore. So.
Well, to be fair, neither does the company.
It's true. They don't have to show up.
Could not show up, but the money.
The money's good.
Paying big money,
He pays big money.
We love to see that in sport. Brian Shaw is a bear chaser, confirmed. Moving on to lesser lifters. So Ty posed this. We've got a little Google Doc going on where we just bounce off ideas for the show here, and he mentioned if you're Natty, should you compete in tested federations? So I have tons of experience here, but I want to hear your opinion first.
Yeah, I mean, it was actually more just kind of posing the question because I don't really know the answer.
Okay.
I like Strongman's a little different because well, there is now a tested federation. It just like there is natural strongman, and honestly, the reason I brought it up was because I learned about it, and I was like, well, I'm natural. Should I like go do this? And I'm like, I guess I don't have strong opinions like I should, or I don't have like, well, they're on gear. I can't compete with them. Like I don't have that opinion. Like especially with strongman, like it's an untested sport.
Right.
Like it's kind of a thing.
Right.
So I just don't care.
Okay.
Like if anybody that I compete with is on gear. Because it doesn't change anything.
Right, going in.
I already know that. Yeah, and to be frank, you can throw as much gear into a bad lifter as you want, and then you like see them and you find out. A lot of the guys, not the guys that we train with, I'm not going to say that, but we know people.
I was about to say the same thing.
We know people that are on a lot of stuff.
That don't look like they lift.
They don't look like they lift.
And they don't
have good numbers.
No.
And you go, how are you this bad at this? And you're taking that much shit.
Right.
Like, and so, like, it's such a wide range.
We used to have a guy before you got at Iron Mayhem that would walk around with like a half chub the whole fucking time because he was on all the fucking gear. Never got to looking good, never got any impressive, but would always talk about how much gear he was wearing.
Yeah, and so, like.
And always had a half sticky.
So yeah, we know those people. So it's like, at that point, you just kind of like, I can't have that in my I just don't care to have that in my headspace.
Right.
So like, it doesn't really matter to me. But with this opportunity,
right?
It's like, well, should I go try to do some tested shows and get to tested nationals? Is it even impressive because no one's in it? Like, it's not a very popular thing. Like, it's kind of like doing, like...
You can be a goddamn pioneer, Todd.
I guess, but it's like being, like, drug-tested multiply. Like, what, there's 4 guys in it in the entire country? Congrats, you won nationals.
I used to have a buddy he called it Natty Ply. He did that before he hopped on. I won't say his name.
Yeah, so it's like...
But yeah,
does it matter?
There literally was like 20 people one year that were tested.
Yeah, so like now it's obviously like there's tested federations in powerlifting are much more popular, and it's much more of a thing.
Yeah.
So that's why, and you have competed in tested shows, but I know you've done you did the IPA Worlds last year and the bench, and that's not a tested show.
I actually signed up. They have tested divisions.
Do they have both? Okay. Well, anyway.
But that
said, competed in untested shows too?
I've competed in
competitions, not shows.
I've won best lifter at untested competition, and it's funny as fuck when you're watching all these roided up, very muscular dudes walking around. And I'm the last one in the flight list because I have the biggest number on there for the opener.
Mm-hmm.
Who's Dennis? and it's just some chubby dude over in the corner.
Right.
But yeah, so here's my thing: if you're doing powerlifting for a hobby and you're drug free, just go sign up at a meet that's convenient for you. If it's tested, fine. If it's untested, fine. Whatever. If it's a convenient location and it has the rule set you prefer and you're just doing it for a fucking hobby, by all means, go that route. If you want to be the best of the best, you need to seek out the best competition. And in tested powerlifting right now, that would be either USAPL here nationally or Powerlifting America, which is the feeder into the IPF now after that whole debacle. And at this point, it's kind of up in the air as to what's more prestigious, USAPL Raw Nats or IPF Worlds. And we've seen there have been lifters who have flip-flopped back and forth between those federations. I think sometimes some of them see an opportunity like, oh, there's nobody.
Well, it's a down year.
It's a down year in my weight class at Powerlifting America Nationals this year. Let me go get that quick, easy IPF qualification for Worlds. Mm-hmm. And vice versa, the people that have been doing IPF look over at the USAPL and like, well, shit, all the good people are coming over to Powerlifting America this year. Let me go cop a national, an easy win. Not saying everybody, but there's some of that happening. But that said,
people do that in Strongman too. When between Corp and US, they'll look at the event and they'll see who's qualified, and they'll also see like what are the actual events, and be like, I'm gonna do that one.
So TLDR, if you're a hobbyist, who fucking cares? If you're trying to be the best and seek out the best and make a name for yourself, then you should be competing in tested competitions against the best tested lifters. And that's one thing that's in the back of my mind that might lure me back into powerlifting is I get an M1 classification this year as I'll be 40. And I'll get a nice new subdivision that, I might look at going and qualifying the national route and seeing how I do there. Maybe jiu-jitsu's being really fun right now, finding that balance. I would certainly have to not do as many jiu-jitsu classes if I were to peak for a powerlifting meet again.
So we're fine with subdivisions, but we don't like formulas. Is that what I'm hearing?
As long as you're competing within your subdivision.
I'm 40. I just can't lift it.
As long as you're competing with your subdivision.
Those young guys, I can't be in the open.
I'm not winning against them. I'm not having a formula that says, he's 40, so his 1,600 pound total is actually 1,800 pounds.
Submasters on a Tuesday.
Listen here, Ty. Listen here. I'll have you know, in the years of 2021 and 2022, I was the #1 tested Submasters bench press 308 in the world. Back to fucking back years. There was only like 100 people each of those years. In those same filters in 23 and 24, after I lost the weight, I was still top 10 though. So and there's like almost 800 lifters there. But yeah, that might draw me back. But again, fucking just go compete. Go have fun.
Yeah.
99% of us are doing this as a hobby. Doesn't fucking matter. Go where it's convenient. Go where it fits your schedule. Go where there's the rule set you like. If there's lax judging and you want to squat high for a bigger number, go do that. Who gives a fuck, really, at the end of the day?
Well, like, even in... I'm surprised that the... I guess, like, the emphasis on natty or not is bigger in powerlifting than it is in strongman. Because with powerlifting...
Because in strongman, nobody is.
Well, yes, but I'm saying, like...
there's no natty or knots. They're all knots.
No, I know, but my point is... a powerlifter's... their performance impacts your performance significantly less than a strongman's performance affects another strongman's performance. Because in strongman, it's all head-to-head. In powerlifting, it's like... it obviously it is someone wins at the end, but it's much more. I feel like powerlifting is much more like, let's go get a PR. Let's go beat our total.
As a hobbyist, yes.
Yeah, once you get to the top.
Now, when we're talking about the like nationals and worlds,
for sure,
then it becomes head to head, and your attempts are determined a lot by what your competitors attempted.
Right.
And they even have lot numbers, which is a big thing at those bigger level meets, where whatever lot number you draw determines, like, if somebody calls 200 for their third after you've already called 199, if you drew the lot number that gets the precedent, you can say, I want to bump my third attempt up to 2.5 now to one up them.
Chip them. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I just like.
But again, at local level, it doesn't matter.
I just like going to strongman. Like, I just don't even. It like never even crosses my brain. Is this person on or is this person not? Because you just can't tell, and I just don't care.
And I think for most of powerlifting, that's also the same. It's just we see that top 1%. For sure. That's what's on social media.
Yeah.
We're not seeing the 99% of nobodies who don't even have an Instagram or YouTube channel.
Yeah.
That are, you've been to our local meets. How many of those people have you seen on Instagram?
Right.
Next to none.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's just like, and for sure, and it's also like with strongman, it's like, no one cares if you're on or off, all the way up until it's time to go on if you want to keep going.
Right.
Because there is that, like with powerlifting, there is an avenue to like get to the top as a natural.
Right, exactly.
So it matters more. It like the Natty slang.
And it's arguably a more elite top
right
on the tested side versus the untested
the
side.
Strongman,
Whereas it's the opposite, Strongman.
Well, Strongman is just like
even though world's strongest man is drug tested.
Yeah,
but
there's just a time where you have to make
shout out to
that,
Marius for failing.
You just have to make that decision if that's something that you want to do. Yeah.
So
right,
serious stuff aside, what's your favorite lifting slang? Mine's pencil neck. It's easily pencil neck. It used to be twink. Shout out my man Alec on Curie, my favorite twink on here. However, that has some sexual connotations behind it.
Yeah.
I am freaky D, so it kind of works with me. But for the general audience, pencil neck and twink are kind of interchangeable. So I'll take pencil neck. I think it's great, and because you see just such a fucking plethora of them now. And it's okay, everybody do your thing, but don't be a goddamn expert when you're not an expert. You haven't put in the time. So I like pencil neck.
My favorite slang phrase in the gym, and I learned this recently. I learned it from Seth Feroci. I was listening to his podcast and he started talking about it. Is horse cocking weights around. It just means like
I think Eric Guggenhagen.
Does he say that too?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's been saying that for years.
Okay. Just like ignorantly, just like throwing weights, like the opposite of what pencil necks do. Just like your lat pull down is just like you're just going wild.
Pencil neck is also Eric Guggenhagen.
Is it?
So,
okay.
Yeah,
I guess just
shout out Eric, my man. Rip the stick with the lifting slang.
Yeah, I don't even watch them. I just osmosis. It just seeps into my brain.
It gets its way around.
I like horse cocking weights. I also like gas station ready. That dude's gas station ready. Just like some ignorant dude who doesn't need a warm up. It can just show up, not know a thing about programming, and just can lift can deadlift 500.
Now I am a huge Josh Bryant fan, given my adoration for Fred Hatfield and his work.
Mm-hmm.
I fucking hate gas station ready as a term.
Well, I feel like it's coming. I've never heard of it. I feel like that's way more your guys'
It is, and it got so overused back then.
And I use it ironically.
Right.
I'm not like, oh, that dude's fucking tough. Like he's gas station ready to get in a fight. I'm saying it like that dude's dumb. Right. That dude's an idiot, and he's just like can show up and be low IQ strong. Like he's gas station ready because he just like doesn't know how to like be intelligent.
We had a dude that used to come to the gym. His name was Charlie. He would come in and on our bench days. He was like a bench only guy, and I think he was a cop like up in Saltville or something. Mm-hmm. And we'd already be warming. He'd just jump in under 315 and start.
That guy.
Yeah.
And then like doesn't know anything. Like you've been training with him for 6 months, and he still has to ask you, "Are we squatting on Monday?"
Yeah.
Like that type of dude. Love him to death. That is, he's not gonna watch this. That is Jeffrey Lunsford, and I love him for it. Do you ever talk to Jeffrey? Okay, Jeffrey trains in the morning around our time. Big, strong. He did the Strongman show and the last Strongman show. He did the novice class. He should not have been in the novice class, but he was scared to death. It's so funny because he's so big and strong, but he's so like anxious and nervous and like, but he's just like he's that guy where you just go like he's perfect for strong. You just go pick that up, and it doesn't matter what it is. He's just gonna, and he's gonna like just figure out how to do it. He knows he's not into programming. He's just kind of like shows up and does whatever, but he's just gas station ready.
Farm boy strong.
Yeah, for real. Like farm boy strong is kind of but ironically, I think that gas station ready is funny now.
Yeah, I guess it's come back around.
It's come back.
That's it for this week's show. Any closing thoughts?
Nah, man.
Y'all give him a hard time for being fucking hungover, but also praise him for coming through and still making it happen.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be just a chill night, and it ended up being a 3:30 in the morning night.
Well, you have a drink turns into a couple of drinks, and let's get hammered.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's get hammered. We'll leave on that one.
See you guys.
Bad jokes.